And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And today we are talking about the episode Power Play. What I lost track already. What number in the season is that? Is it
15.
15?
Ah, damn it. Come on.
Oh, someone, I hear myself echoing in your background. Or is that just... No, not. No, it's probably just... It might be you, Sean. But you can fix it mid whatever. So today's episode, Power Play. Does anyone want to do the summary for this one? Gary did the last one very impressive without any knowledge of the episode except for his distant memories and trekcore.com.
Most of them for trekcore.com.
But he watched the trailer too.
And I watched the trailer. But in this time, I'm more prepared. I watched the entire episode.
So are you saying you
I just
want to
finished
do
like 10 minutes ago. What? No, we're not gonna fight for that. You're gonna do that.
Fine. I'll do the summary. It's another episode. Humans and betazoids, just generally anyone traveling on the Starship Enterprise, are extremely susceptible to possession because once again, crew members of the Enterprise get possessed by aliens. This time, they're 500-year-old prisoners from the planet Utmal, something like that. Anyways, they were disembodied because apparently the more advanced civilizations have the ability to disembody you from yourself and then imprison you on a moon. Anyways, 200 years ago, a Federation Daedalus class starship crashed on the moon, and the prisoners tried to possess them, but unfortunately the Daedalus class ship, the Essex, I think it was too damaged to fly, so they couldn't escape. But using their knowledge of the Essex crew, they've now tricked Counselor Troi. Well, sorry, they haven't tricked them, they possessed them, but they're tricking the rest of the crew into thinking that they are the ghosts of the ship and that the rest of the crew complement is stuck on the planet disembodied. But Captain Picard is way too clever, and as he goes through negotiation tactics, because of course Data, Troi, and Riker, what's his name? O'Brien. O'Brien try to take over the ship to move it closer to the poles so that the rest of these guys, they could beam the rest of their prisoner compatriots up. But alas, they are unsuccessful because Captain Picard, using his amazing negotiating tactics, goes into 10 Forward where they're holding a bunch of people hostage, including Keiko and Molly. And he manages to convince them, gain their trust and convince them that they have to go to Cargo Bay 4. 7, Cargo Bay 7. Does anyone remember the cargo bay?
Number 4.
It's 4. Okay. Oh, I got it right the first time. So that if all else fails, he can eject everyone out into space and save his ship and crew. Was that? Oh, and so nothing fails. Fortunately, he's able to persuade the aliens to go back to their prison planet.
That was short and sweet. I liked it.
Did I get it right though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nothing to add?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Power Play. Whoa. Power Play. What do we think?
Okay, I love the
much sums it up. You know, I wasn't I was a little disappointed by it.
So we have one love and one letdown.
Wait, who loved it?
I loved it.
Oh, you loved it? Oh, I missed that. Oh, okay.
I love the episode.
Oh, I was a little let down.
Really?
Gary?
All right.
God, you would have been let down by the past 3 or 4 episods then.
Actually, especially to the last one. How are we here again? Yeah.
I actually think because of the last episode that I really like this one a lot. But I would love to start with what you were disappointed in, because it's always more fun to hear the.
I think the three of them, the three characters that were trying to take over the ship could have been a little nastier. I would have liked that a bit more, especially with the whole thing between Data and Worf. I mean, I think if this had been if this had been maybe an earlier kind of show, set maybe in the 70s or something somehow, there really would have been a fight between Data and Worf. I mean, it looks like
you get an incredible action sequence with an incredible fight. I mean, like Worf's taken down, and
yeah, and Worf didn't really fight back.
Oh, I thought you meant Picard when he threw himself on the wall.
Wait, what? He threw himself on the wall?
Oh, in the ready room. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. You guys are ridiculous. I get it now.
No, but really, I think Data and Worf could have had it.
Try to take over my ship. Sorry, go ahead. What's that?
Data and Worf, I think there should have been more just general nastiness between them. I think everybody kind of held back, and then the whole thing with O'Brien and Keiko. I mean, O'Brien could have just been like hitting on. He could have just been really smarmy and nasty and just really. I don't know. I just think all three of them could have been nastier. I think
that the potential was there for them to be nastier, but the entity that possessed Counselor Troi kept like holding them back. If you remember,
but they're criminals. They're crooks. They're sleaze.
But they also want to get like the rest of their criminal friends to come aboard and take over the ship. Like they want to possess as many people
they're like
as they
ghost pirates. Like I just thought it should have been like characters from Pirates of the Caribbean, and they could have just
they were ghost pirates. Actually,
I don't know. Riddick is the criminal, but
that's a great example.
He's the criminal, but he saved that one girl, right? He saved that one little bald girl.
Yeah.
So he's still got this nice in him, even though he's one of the most horrible criminals in the galaxy that can escape from anything.
Well, I was thinking of the other people in Riddick, not Riddick himself. I mean, like the other.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like Riddick kind of holds the nasty.
But Riddick
back.
is supposed to. Yeah, he's supposed to be the nasty guy, but then he's got this restraint because in the dire situation that they are in on Pitch Black, they have to get off that planet. So he.
Right.
Well, because he has a bigger cause also, and I sense that with the Troi, the one that possessed Troi, definitely was like all about like we're done with this 500-year sentence. We want to get off this planet, so that overrides like the natural meanness that's festering inside.
I'm just imagining Vin Diesel playing Counselor Troi in a reboot in G now.
Vin Diesel would look great in that blue dress that Troi tends to wear. I think it would look great.
Oh, amazing.
I thought the episode was interesting for a lot of reasons, but also because of like the idea that like you can be disembodied from your self, your spirit or like whatever, and then somehow these like creatures can possess others. It reminded me a lot about wasn't there an original series episode where like you put your mind in an orb for a little while and then they come into you, right?
Yes,
remember?
It has Diana Muldaur, and they possess
That's right.
her.
Dr. Pulaski, that's right.
Right, they possess her, and I believe they possess Spock, and that's another thing that kind of knocked this episode down a little for me, is that there is similarity there. I mean, I guess it's a tried and true thing on Star Trek, and it does give the actors a chance to portray something other than what they're used to. So I appreciated that, but I just thought that they could have pushed it more in terms of. I mean, you're right. I think Troi should have been the one to kind of constrain the other two, but I mean, O'Brien. I don't know. O'Brien wasn't really that nasty, really, and Data just. Definitely, there was potential there for him to just be really, just knocking people around, and I think it would have been great if O'Brien had been hitting on other women in 10 Forward and making Keiko really uncomfortable and really going for it, I mean, just really making these characters that I mean, O'Brien and Data are two of the most likable characters of Next Generation. Make them really unlikable and just completely opposite to what they normally are. And I don't know.
Feel like
that's sound by that.
I feel like that's something they could have done in Deep Space Nine, but it doesn't like suit TNG as a series to go that far. I feel like
well, yeah, I think that like definitely the show had these like had a more family friendly vibe, if you will. Well, maybe we'll get a possession episode in Star Trek Discovery, and it'll go really, really far. But
technically, we did.
I know it's true. Technically we did. Kailash! What did you guys think? This is like now the third. Is this the second or third time Data has been susceptible to something that humans, or humanoids rather, I should say, are susceptible to as well? And I don't quite understand how that works for him. Like
that is my main point.
Oh, good.
But before we go into the details, though, I wanted to kind of go over my thoughts on the episode and maybe ask Gary what he thinks, if that's possible.
Gary's got an interesting look going on over there.
Yeah, he's all silent and ominous.
Okay, you guys talking basically from just listening. That's it.
God. Okay, I'm gonna go over just my 2 or 3 points.
Gary has notes. We're gonna make him read his notes after you.
Ooh, I want that. I like
that. I have my notes. Yes.
All right.
So I really like the episode, and like what you kind of, I suppose you want more out of it because you would have wanted the characters to be meaner, badder, considering they are like dangerous criminals. So bad, in fact, that we disembodied them and like let them drift in a storm.
Right. Exactly.
So
right.
I understand that, but it's kind of like one of those situations where it's not something that I want to make the episode good. It's more something that I could have had to make the episode better, like even better than what it is, because I found the episode really good as it was. I just like the concept of disembodying people to make them prisoners. I like the idea of having, like, the fantastical idea of having a ghost, and then to think that, well, in space anything is possible, and it, like, technically, if you explain it in some sort of scientific way, it is real. I love the way the actors change the way they play, like the characters they are. I don't know. I think this episode was it's a good example of what Star Trek can be. Far out concepts, even if it is similar to other things that we've already seen, it still is like a far out concept, and I don't know, and just good acting and very science fiction.
I have to say the acting was great because I mean, like, their personalities enough to be convincing as, and they're kind of, it's interesting, like the whole opening, just you know, with the stormy planet, and they have to go down in a shuttle, and like how they get and like kind of saving them. You don't really know where the episode's gonna go when you're first watching it, because it could go in any direction, and then it goes into this like really good like basically like what's that movie, Die Hard on the Enterprise. It's like you have these terrorists like taking over the Enterprise, and then like I love the whole sequence where like on the bridge when Data just kind of flips his shit and can't wait anymore, and like and Riker's like, what are you doing? And then he like knocks Riker out, and then Riker just barely has time to say override commands and send them to engineering or whatever he does, and then they're like, fuck, so they like have to get to 10 forward, like, which I don't know, like that whole sequence I thought was done really well, and like action. Yeah, it's really good action. Actually, it holds up today. I didn't understand how, and maybe you guys have like a Trek explanation for this, or like we can make something up, but like how is it that you have these like energy weapons and you're shooting the Troi and O'Brien and Data they're not affected by the weapons? So I'm wondering if like it makes you wonder all kinds of things about like how these entities work and stuff like that. But anyways, the point is that the action was thrilling. Yeah, I just thought it was like pretty solid stuff that you don't often get that well. And I guess the credit should go to David Livingston, I presume, who directed the episode.
He's directed so much Star Trek.
A lot of Star Trek. He's like their favorite. He's like
the directing in this episode is noticeably good. Like there are certain camera placements that are really dynamic and that are very interesting. I really liked it.
Yeah,
Gary, share your notes.
And not to mention the honor the guy. They named Picard's fish in the tank. Called, that's because that's his name, Livingston.
Oh,
nice. I didn't know that.
That was a good. That's really cool.
I'm not sure if it's for obviously it's to honor the guy, but it was a nice little touch. If that's if that's him, but he is definitely a big name in TNG for sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. This the script you'll be interested to know, Sean, because I see you're on I see you posted a message to a couple of messages to see a couple of suggestions about taking scripts from fans. But I think this, if I read correctly on Memory Alpha, started out as like a freelancer script and got bounced around. So it's actually touched the hands of like a bunch of people. And there was an interesting little note on Memory Alpha that I read also. I did a little research, not too much, but but about how originally there was like a 9-minute back and forth between Picard and Troi's character in dialogue, and I would have loved to a 9-page, so that roughly translates to like 8 or 9 minutes of dialogue, and so I would have loved to have seen what the intensity of what that kind of. They went for more action, which I think was a good.
I think that would have dragged it down. That would have dragged the episode down. I think would have made it slow. Well, it would have turned it into yet another Picard negotiating kind of thing.
I also, I don't think I've seen this episode in like at least 10 years, and so it was a sufficient amount of time to kind of forget the details. And I think I was really like impressed with the way that like the reveal of Picard's hand, because like they allude to it in the beginning when he's on the bridge trying to get a handle of the situation and control the situation. He like makes a remark to Riker where he's like, I have to go down there and then watch for my hand. I'm going to play it at some point, right? And so we're all like trying to figure out, well, what is his play? What is Picard going to do? And I think it's brilliant that he was like, well, you need these bodies to live, so I'm just going to eject everyone out. And if you know the people you're inhabiting, you know that they would die to save the rest of the ship. And so then they have no choice, which is pretty cool, because these space pirates would rather be alive and in prison to try maybe to take over another ship than to perish. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
That's actually a really interesting point, because I was thinking, what if Picard won't go down? What if like Riker goes down, or someone else to try to negotiate, or just swap places with someone, and Picard wouldn't end up in Shuttle Bay 4, and then the entities might have been like, yeah, sure, whatever, just throw yourself out from the Shuttle Bay, and then we will possess someone else. Wonder if it wasn't Picard, it would have happened the same way.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that like in a situation like that, like this, what's one part of the believability of this episode is that like it kind of has to be Picard when it's all or nothing, right? Because like the captain should never ask his crew to do what he wouldn't himself. So I think that's like another reason why Captain Picard is a great role model. And that was your cheesy moment. Yes, I am a role model number 1. Now you go and take care of the see them. Thank you. But I got distracted. What about I guess the other scenario I wonder about is like it would be neat to get a follow-up episode. It would have been neat to like get a follow-up episode, like maybe these characters. I guess not. No, I take it back. I was gonna say it'd be neat if they actually finally succeeded and like took over like a Klingon ship or something like that, and we see them again.
I agree.
Like
I
somewhere
agree.
else.
I am on board 100%. You know, we could follow this up with not just an episode, but with a movie.
Yeah.
Right? And then we could make it R-rated, so the Doctor would be happy. And all of the prisoners, like they would find a way to escape or like create bodies for themselves or whatever, and then they would, you know, I don't know, they would
you know what's better? They become
one guy would crash, one guy would crash, and then they would clone him, right?
What if
like
what if in the movie is Sylvester Stallone heads up the movie and it's the Expendables in space and like
the Expaceables.
The Expaceables.
No, sir. We get John Carpenter to direct it, and we call it The Fog. Oh, how about that one?
Oh,
The Storm. Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
I have a feeling that the Enterprise should have left a beacon or something saying that, hey, avoid this planet or
You know,
I'm
I'm
sure
sure they did.
No,
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they put they put up a perimeter, you know, like danger beware,
warning sign or something.
Ghosts ahead, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like every other planet deserves a
stay away beacon, right?
Stay away.
Stay away.
It was nice to see a planet because that's one of my main complaints for TNG. Doing this rewatch, I realized that like TNG don't land very often, and usually the stories are contained to the ship. TOS really made an effort of leaving the ship on pretty much every away mission, and then Voyager does the same thing. Deep Space Nine has a way of, you know, going to Bajor, going to Cardassia, or seeing just alien ships. But we see a lot of diversity on Deep Space Nine, even if it is just the same like decor. But TNG is often the same crew in the same hallways. So this was nice. I liked seeing the planet, and I thought the CG was good as well. It is old, but I like the shuttle CG, and I like the opening image where you got the Enterprise with the moon and the planet. I think it looks really good.
That was cool. What did you think of like? I think what the other thing I liked is like I think everyone was in this episode. Like Dr. Crusher was in it. Geordi and Ro. Yeah, Geordi and Ro had like something to do, which, you know, it didn't work, but I thought that was cool.
They just ultimately failed and complained about the size of the Jeffries tube.
That was really funny. Yeah, and like I don't know. I think overall it was like a really pretty cool episode.
I like it when Star Trek, like, it gives us character moments, but I don't like it when the character moments overpower the science fiction of the story. I want, like, when I watch Star Trek, I want science fiction concepts and out of the box kind of ideas, and I think this episode delivers on that. It gives us that really kind of far-fetched idea of having like a planet like full of convicted spirits, but then you have these character moments that are interspersed between, like, even like O'Brien's on the planet and he says, we got to do this fast because I got to get back to feed Molly because she gets really cranky at lunchtime.
Right.
And then
why do you think
Riker says like, go lunchtime?
Yeah, Riker says lunchtime.
Yeah,
Come on.
that was funny.
Why do you think that like Keiko never mentions to him that, hey, what's wrong with you? You're Miles. You're the father of my child. Like, she just completely, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there was never a scene. I was kind of waiting for that, like a moment.
Thank God it didn't happen, though. It would have been.
Are you serious? Like,
yeah, that would have been cheesy. You know,
she just listened to Picard interact with the three of them, right. I think. And then so she understood, and then she thought, like, I'm not going to get like into this. I'm going to try and keep my baby as far away as possible from these freaks.
Right. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Sean, because you are now a father, was the scene more intense for you?
I'll tell you what. Like... I had a reaction that I've never had before. All right. At one point, Deanna Troi says they care a great deal about Captain Picard. He's the most important person on the ship, or the crew consider him the most important person on the ship, as like a father for like 2 weeks now. I looked at the baby in the same scene and I thought, how are not the children and the babies more important than the captain? And I'd never thought that before. But then, like, now I was like looking at the baby, I was like, no, it's more interesting to save the baby than to save the captain. I know it's not like I don't know, it's not a sound decision when it comes to like the Starfleet in itself.
Right, yeah. But it's the human thing.
But it's a human thing, and it's a morally just thing to save the babies, the children.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then Troi says Picard's the most important person.
Well, following up on that thought, it kind of turned in my head as well when Miles went over to Keiko and was like start talking to her, plus talking about the kid, and I gave you this bracelet, I remember you, and blah blah blah. But then at the end, I kept thinking when he was like wanted to kiss her, and
that was so creepy. It's like actually
was,
like, a horrible
screaming and
scene.
everything, and Picard was just like in the other side of the room, not saying anything. Like, wouldn't he actually just stepped over, like, hey, don't interrogate my people or something, because they are not like he wasn't mice, he was an alien entity. So I was kind of like, thinking like, he could have done something.
It wasn't his scene.
It wasn't his scene.
It wasn't his place.
I genuinely felt he was a bit useless in that scene.
Yeah, he should have totally turned around and said, "No, the line must be drawn here."
No further.
Get away from that child.
See, I would have liked for all of those. I think all the actors were game to push it further, and I get the argument that Next Generation just doesn't do that. And I guess that's why I don't like. I guess that's why I don't like Next Generation as much as the other shows, is because I think they kind of tease you with something, and they just don't go all the way and fulfill the promise. Another thing which kind of bothered me is that there was a scene where Worf is talking about to Picard that what if they're ghosts or something. There's some conversation like that, and the idea of, and Picard just kind of like, no, Wolf, that's balderdash, typical Starfleet, like ghosts don't exist. But I wish the episode had kind of gone along a little bit more with that idea that, what if they are ghosts? What if this is something that doesn't can't be explained away by science? The idea of ghost pirates or whatever. I would have liked to had more of that, but as soon as you have Picard categorically say, "No, Worf, you're wrong. You're being a superstitious old woman," that idea immediately just dissipates, and then you're just kind of waiting around for the real explanation.
Stop having sex with your lamp.
Wow.
Wow.
And now we're on a new episode of Drunk Space Nine. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a hell of a lamp, let me tell you. I don't know what those
9 generations.
I don't know what the Klingons do, but but you know what I mean. It's just like you get a tease of something, and then Next Generation just kind of squashes it. But
you have to. Here's one of, like, this is a soapbox moment for me, and I agree it's way more exciting. I love the show The Expanse. By the way, have you guys started watching?
Oh, are we going for our regularly scheduled Expanse?
Every
episode? It wasn't that. It wasn't me. Let me step back and let it happen.
So wait, okay. So I love shows like The Expanse. I love Deep Space Nine. I love it a lot, actually, and I do agree with you that it's like, as an adult, it's way more riveting to see concepts that appeal to adults, right? However, I think Star Trek has to strike a fine balance where there has to be. I think the way I look at it is, like, the original series and Star Trek: The Next Generation are wonderful in that they're the two series that you can truly introduced to children, like starting at around, I would say, at the age of 10 or 11. I think that's a good age to start introducing children to it, right? So I agree, you're right 100% that Star Trek: The Next Generation has these built-in flaws it's never gonna go deep, like as deep as you want it as an adult. Okay, and I don't know. That was not an innuendo.
I didn't even pick up on that, to be honest.
I didn't either.
Oh, good.
I
Okay.
didn't
I
either.
didn't either. It wasn't until you pointed it out.
I was looking at my notes, and then you pointed it out, and I was like, wait a minute.
My action figure. I'm listening to you on your soapbox.
I thought I saw a look.
On who?
You made it worse. You made it worse.
No, I didn't make it
know.
worse. Anyways, but how deep is your science fiction? Anyways, the the thing is that I think it's great to have a show like that, and that's one of the things that like I feel kind of bad about the show Discovery is because I do think that there's like I just could never imagine presenting Star Trek Discovery to a 10-year-old.
No,
like it's just it's way too scary. It's way too sexual.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
like way too much intensity happening. But you know, but like maybe the age now to introduce a kid to Star Trek, which again, it's unfortunate because it's not that age where you're as curious as you are like when you're 10 about science and things like that. But like, you know, Discovery's just up the age to like whatever 15 to 17 or whatever. And so I really kind of wish that Star Trek had a show, and this is where I think like a case for an animated series is really strong that would appeal to a younger audience, because I think that's a longer term game. Like it's thinking longer term. If you wanted, you know, it's great to have a fan base and everything like that, but if you want to really like change the world and like do great things and like have a fan base that's engaged and is learning new concepts as TNG and TOS teaches us, and that's why so many people are like, oh, this is the core of Star Trek. It's, I think they're longing for that kind of thing, but they also want the adult stuff as well, you know. So it's like a balance that needs to be struck. But so all I can say is that like I think when we critique TNG not going as hard or as far as it could, we have to remember the context of like who the audience is, and so within that context, I think this episode really does go far. It does push the limits, because as a child, I do remember like feeling the intent, especially around like the Keiko scenes, like the intensity and like kind of like the uncomfortableness of the situation. And so I think like a 10-year-old gets it, you know, whereas a 40-year-old not gonna get
that's
it.
a really interesting. I had not really, you know, that's an interesting argument. I had not considered that. And I think you are right. I think Next Generation definitely was considered a family show. I mean, if you look at the time that it would typically come on, it was usually scheduled before the 8 o'clock hour. It was
PG-13, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, we didn't even have ratings back then for television.
Oh wow!
But it was scheduled for 7 p.m., which was always
you kind of went off like you knew the intensity of a show based on what time it aired. You know,
right?
Like, yeah, it was
exactly. Like, for example, the Disney Sunday night movie would start at 7 p.m. because typically that is when families would traditionally sit down and have dinner. So Next Generation was scheduled for that hour. So you know what? I will revise my statements based on what you just I agree. I mean, personally, I still believe they could have gone further. But yeah, I see your point. I see your point where they do have a certain responsibility to younger viewers, and they couldn't have gone as far as maybe I would have liked. And having said that, I mean, I still do believe the acting was very good. I think Brent Spiner brought it, you know, as always. I think Troi, probably Curtis appreciated playing a tougher character on that show, and her scenes with Picard.
Yeah,
I thought a fun fact about Marina Sirtis, actually.
I was going to talk about this.
She broke her coccyx.
Huh?
Her tailbone.
Was it a tailbone? She broke her tailbone. Doing
that.
That
What the coccyx is? Yeah, your tailbone.
I don't know.
Really?
What is there a difference between a coccyx and a tailbone?
Hey Siri, what is the official name for the tailbone?
Geez.
I can't get the answer to that on HomePod.
Really? That's lame. I can't get the answer to that.
You've
on-
never.
Siri
It's
sucks.
never worked, you know.
Siri
Siri.
sucks. Anyway, Marina
Yes, thank you.
Sirtis broke a bone doing that stunt where they all jumped backwards. And
terrible.
I'm actually pretty convinced from what I remember, they kept the shot where they kept the take where she broke her bone and she was just lying down there. And she was like kind of trying to shake it off for the scene, like it's all fine, it's all good. Anyway, so that was her stunt. They all did that stunt, and yeah.
Wow.
So pretty impressive stuff.
She like made a funny remark about how like at the end of the day you wouldn't even notice if it was actually Worf and Troy's outfit. Like the scene is so brief, she doesn't know why she
so
did
brief
her own
and
stunt.
from so far away.
Far away. It's like she doesn't know why she did her own
Actually,
stunt.
just a little, not correction, but a little behind the scene fact, and also coming from Trekker, to credit them. It says Marina was the only one who did the stunt herself during the storm scene. The rest of the cast had a stunt double. It took 2 takes. The first take, she fell back but rolled on her hip, but the director didn't like that. The second take, she flung herself back and landed hard on her back, leaving her unable to walk for 3 weeks.
God.
Wow.
Wow. Well, you know, props for doing this stunt.
We should start giving more props out on Starfleet Boy.
Just another thing, the 3 possessed aliens. Also Trekker says Marina Sirtis, Brent Spiner, and Cole Meany thought up the nicknames Slugger, Buzz, and Slash for their possessed personae.
Wait, Slugger, Buzz, and what?
Slash.
I love it.
And just one more. This is funny actually. Sirtis got so dirty from the blowing sand that she had to take a midday shower and get made up again.
Oh wow.
Oh.
God.
Where do you do that on the set? Like
maybe on her trailer. I think it's that.
Yeah, they have trailers. That's right. I forgot about that.
They have communal showers for the cast.
Oh my.
Neil's female.
I think that who this is something that we do every now and then on Starfleet Boy, but I'm gonna try to make it like a official, non-official segment because it is casual and informal. Who owns this episode? I'm gonna give it to Picard.
What?
No. It's a small episode for him.
No
God,
way. This is a group effort.
It is.
This is
It really is. It really is a ghost effort.
You don't think it's a Picard? Like Picard has the best moment.
In a strange way, I think it's almost
Picard.
It's all like I said. I would probably go for Troi. It's probably a Troi episode, but then in a strange way, it's also an O'Brien episode.
But then
themselves.
Wait, what was that, Gary?
Just none of them themselves. So we can say it's an O'Brien and Troi or a Data episode, but it's none of those because they're not themselves.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to say something controversial.
Oh.
As much as I enjoy Brent Spiner, and I think he's a very, very talented actor.
Oh.
I get the sense that every time he has to play someone that's evil, he just defaults to Lore.
Oh, did you get? I didn't get lore out of this guy. Do you think
and
so?
I got Lore when he goes, "Can't you see he's manipulating you or something?" He says something like that to Troi at some point.
The mannerisms.
Yeah, the mannerisms and like even the kind of the tone in his voice, like
always when he plays Lore, he gets like this vein popping in his head, kind of intensity, and I think that he was doing that in this episode for sure.
No, but I think some of the actors can't really play villains, and Brent Spiner, although he tries hard, he's not the kind of guy who will be able to pull out a total villain. I've seen him in a couple of movies, but he's not.
Except on Twitter, he's a villain sometimes, right, Gary?
Yes. My arch enemy, Mr. Brent Spiner.
My arch enemy, God.
I guarantee I guarantee you, if Brent Spiner met you in person, he would adore you as much as we do, Gary.
Oh, he did actually. And I did meet him in person. That was before the tweet, so prehistoric times, you know. But on that note, talking about acting, I think O'Brien. I was really convinced on O'Brien. So he really pulled up this slash buzzer or slugger, one of the guy who actually was playing.
You know what's interesting?
He was really good.
You know what's interesting? The evil O'Brien of this episode kind of resembles the O'Brien we get in Deep Space Nine later on.
Oh,
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah,
that's how he become. Like that's how he is towards Bashir in Deep Space Nine.
That is true.
A little extreme, but he does resemble Smiley a little bit. The alternate, the mirror universe. O'Brien.
That just comes back to them not really being able to,
portray a villain,
go too far in their range of villains.
Right.
But then I mean, okay, so they're not playing completely different characters. They're just playing versions of themselves. So I suppose that is why you would try to keep it close to home.
Cole Meany actually plays a really great kind of antagonist / villain, if you will, because I don't know if you guys like or appreciate the movie Far and Away, but his character in that movie is like fantastically, deliciously kind of evil. And
I thought you were going to say get him to the Greek.
I thought he was Under Siege, the Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait. Hey, didn't we send Steven Seagal to Russia or something like that? Or is Russia sending him to us? Like something happened recently on the news with Steven Seagal
has decided to become like some kind of ambassador,
right? Yeah.
To the Russians on our behalf. Self-appointed, by the way. So,
but didn't someone do that for North Korea recently as well?
Dennis Rodman. No,
Dennis Rodman. Okay, whatever. I get
Dennis Rodman is like best buddies with Kim Jong Il. You're right.
Il was his father. Un is his.
Un.
Il is the father.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure because Il is what comes before death, and his father is dead. So Kim Jong was ill, and then now he's dead.
Siri, who is the current supreme leader of North Vietnam?
Siri? It never works.
North Korea.
She never works. She won't know. She's gonna say Donald Trump. She's gonna get it wrong.
Parameters are unavailable for this question.
I wish Siri was Miguel Barrett's voice, by the way. I would go apeshit if that were the case. That would be like the best thing ever.
Have anyone of you noticed Troi got an alien accent towards the end of the episode? And she's like, we are on planet Ukma.
And it resembles something else. Yeah, it resembles the same accent that she does whenever she gets possessed, because it's like a deeper kind of voice that she does. Like, it's like
that's her alien voice, whichever the race is.
Fuck you, Jean-Luc. I'm going to take it for myself.
I would have loved if that had been a line. I really do.
In Old Man Picard, we could have an episode.
Oh, you and Old Man Picard.
I can't wait for Old Man Picard. I'm so excited.
You think it's going to be like something like Logan was to Wolverine?
It's the same. It is. It's going to be. I'm going to be crying at the end of every episode.
Oh, you're crying already.
I am.
I'm so tears welling in your eyes right now.
I'm so excited. We get to find out about these aliens.
I'm going to go to the Field Guide of Aliens to Star Trek Next Generation.
Gary, this is always really fun.
Edited by Zachary Auburn. So
this is new for me.
While you search, I just wanted to comment on the fact that Data, when he's hacks his way into opening doors and bringing down force fields, this kind of stuff, the guy that inhabits Data in this episode is much more direct. Just breaks the panel, shoves his hand in, and then causes a short circuit, which I found was really awesome. Like, that's how I would use Data. I'm incapable of doing anything technological, so I would just break shit because he's got a strong body. It's awesome.
Also, how can the Enterprise force fields destroyed just by putting your cybernetic arm in the circuit, like in the master?
Just short-circuited. I don't know. They should have maybe turned off the
whole
lights in the
panel.
hallway and just like say he buzzed down that
I think
entire level or whatever.
There was like there was definitely a flickering happening. But anyways, sorry, go on.
Was Guinan on vacation?
Yeah. Otherwise, she would have pulled out her gigantic gun.
Well,
and,
she was
like,
in the previous episode as well, where Data became the bartender.
Where does Guinan go when all these things happen?
To make huge movies for Paramount and like Sister Act.
Sister Act 2.
Or Ghost.
Or Sister Act 2, right? Or Ghost.
Right.
And then she comes back.
All right. So here we go. So these are the Ooks Malians. These aliens used to have bodies, but now they are just some energy balls. They were criminals who had their bodies taken from them, and they're exiled to a shitty planet. Then the Enterprise shows up, and 3 of them possess Troi, Data, and O'Brien. Once they are possessed, they are incredibly cruel, cold, and emotionless. They take some hostages and 10 forward, and Keiko is there, and the way that O'Brien treats her is like he is empty of everything he used to be. I feel like this sometimes, and it is really scary. My mom will start with her stupid, childish, needy bullshit, and I will get so angry. It is like something else takes control of me, and I just want to hurt something. A few weeks ago, when this happened, my cat came near me, and I don't know what happened, but I kicked it so hard, and I was frightened of me for days afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
And now I am so scared to go near it because I am worried it might happen again. I love my cat so much, and I fucking hate her that she made me hurt it.
Oh my god.
I just want to lay in my bed and have my cat.
What on earth? This is the worst entry. Go. Poor Gary has no idea, and this is his first one.
I'm kind of thinking this is something familiar that for the little fan fix or something that we started in season 2 or something.
Yes,
Chapman once about the episodes.
Wow.
But
wow.
Is there more?
I just want to lay in my bed and have my cat lick my hair until I feel better like I used to, but I think I am empty now. I think there is nothing good left in me to bring back.
Oh my god, that is like such a great description of what they must feel like when they're possessed.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zachary Auburn of A Field Guide to the Aliens of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Wow.
I love it.
Wow. There's your darkness that you guys wanted. There it is. There, you got it right there in that book.
You wanted something more. Was that more?
That's exactly what I wanted. I have it right here.
You wanted to go back into his quarters and just kick his cat?
Yeah, and Spot just comes and just start licking his hair while he lays in the bed feeling empty. It would have been fabulous. I would have given this episode a 10 if that would have happened. I'll give any episode a 10 that has Data lying on his bed and Spot licking his hair. I mean, this is great.
I do have a couple of Starfleet Boy channel announcements.
Kicking of cats, by the way.
We have found tentatively we have found our database one. Gary is interested, and so I will be training Gary. Yes, Gary is the database one. Database one.
Number one.
Number one.
Well, how did you get talked into this?
I didn't. He talked himself into it. Yeah, I just. Wow, Doctor Kalmate.
No, I think it's just really because I wasn't
Are you possessed by an alien entity right now?
Yes, I am. This is mine.
Oh, we haven't seen that guy in a long time from the animated series. What's his name?
What's his name?
That's a Globber.
A Glommer.
Globber.
Glommer. Okay.
Glommer.
So good.
And
good things on the horizon because Database One is the most knowledgeable person on Starfleet Boy, and also that reminds me, Humbert, Gary is is technically number one because after you and me, he's the first person we had on the show.
Wow.
Is that a real fact? I don't.
Is that a real fact? This is the guy who runs the show.
I would
Wow.
say that's not entirely true because I do remember Jamie and
He was on before
his
you?
wife. He was on before me. Yeah.
Wow. That's why you're database one. This is why you are the database one. Look, even just from your mind, you knew that. I'm so impressed.
Okay.
So
brief.
Happy. So happy. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life.
Wow.
Your whole life.
I feel sorry for you.
Wow.
So someone who's gonna remember things for me. It's the best thing in the world. Like, thank you, Gary. No.
I'm sorry,
Gary. I want to know,
Really
I want to
sorry.
know, Gary. I want to know what is in your notes before we give the ratings of this episode.
For this episode, extra notes. Oh yes. One important thing. First thing that I kind of written down, that the shuttle has safety belts.
Oh,
I have that in my notes as well. I have
safety
seat
belts.
belts with exclamation points.
Yes.
do you think
and
that they do the thing? Do you think they do the
didn't have
thing
it anywhere else?
Wait, but the shuttlecraft doesn't have safety belts?
It does.
Well,
Troi
it's the first
does.
time we're seeing them.
The
No,
toy
but
has safety belts.
This proves that they work just like the ones in Star Trek Kelvin. They just go boop, and pop on when you need them.
You know what?
Because the toys
Where
have
did
safety
they?
belts.
Where did they go in Nemesis? Because I remember there was a deleted scene just after when the Enterprise went back to dry dock, and they showed Captain Picard like, yeah, this is the new feature
Here's
that
your new
the button,
chair.
and the seat belt just came up, and he was like, you could have used it before.
Oh,
Where
but
did
wasn't
they
that on the
disappear?
bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, the excuse is it's on the bridge, whereas this is like a shuttle. We can say
Yeah.
like shuttles are more prone to being shaken around, so maybe they have like seatbelts, and then ships don't.
But
In general,
rarely use it, even in shuttles.
yeah. In general, you never see anyone strapping in
Because it's not
to a
considered
seat
manly,
or womanly either.
Or Klingon.
But
I was being
Klingon.
sexist there. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
You can
A
just
Klingon
say
does not wear a belt.
You can just say it's not considered.
Teaser for the next episode.
It's not considered. Oh yeah, ethics.
There was
Anyways,
two more
yeah,
things
go
that
ahead.
I've written down for myself. Well, for us. Worf's smile. So when the possessed Data was interrogating Worf, like, oh, come on, Klingon, come on, hit me. And Worf had a really small but cracking smile. It literally, you could read it from his face that he can't take Data seriously. So like, really, you want to fight me? Even though Data would have taken down Worf, but he had this, like, why? Why do you want to fight me? You have no chance fighting a Klingon warrior.
Do you
Which
really
I
think? Do
found
you really
really-
think Data would have won?
Oh yeah, Klingons actually are not much stronger than humans,
I
and
agree.
Data isn't. And
But
Data is in possession of like super strength. Like, I mean, he could actually. Data should be
Normal
able to
Data,
just
though.
kill.
Normal Data to normal Worf.
Oh, normal Worf would have wiped the floor with Data.
I think so, because even if Worf technically doesn't have, they're not that stronger than humans. Klingons, they have this kind of inner rage that builds up, and I think Worf would be ready to like bite him and eat him and scratch him and do everything he has to, just to rip off his head.
No, but you remember there was an episode.
Also, he has an off button.
Well, he does, but no
But
one
you
else
have to
knows
read
at this
it.
point. Just Dr. Crusher and William and Riker as well, because in season 1. But
That's right.
I'm pretty sure.
Worf will give him a new off button for sure.
No, but remember the episode Chase, when the Klingon captain, the Cardassians were in the ship as in the Enterprise, and they were chasing the artifacts and whatsoever. And the Klingon captain wanting to use Data for his knowledge and everything, and basically they had like a Klingon power ritual, and Data literally bumped his head into the Klingon just fall backwards, and that was normal Data. And if that was a Klingon captain, I think Worf wouldn't have survived. Worf
yeah, I mean, like Data easily lifts things that it takes a lot of strength for Worf to lift. I mean, like Data just goes whoop, and that's it. You know,
my money's still on Worf. Worf will rip his head off.
I think if Data ever got possessed, which obviously it's easy to do, by the wrong entity, or if his program was rewritten by the wrong person, Data would like in minutes, well, in an hour, kill every person on the Enterprise. Like he's that crazy.
Well, it depends if he's got Troi behind him telling him not to, right? But
wow, this is getting a little deep here. Let's.
This ties into what you said in the beginning. How did they actually possess Data, right?
Yeah, I don't. That's the only part that I have a critique about.
I think that took a little longer, because you remember the turbo lift scene when they actually went in and Data had this little glitch when he was talking. I think it took a longer time to actually take him over.
That's just a malfunction, but technically, he was taken over in like the same way the others were. Like the ball of light just came into him, right?
Right. I think that like it would have made more sense if Data was the one that didn't, because like Riker didn't get taken over in this episode, right? And I imagine like a conversation. I bet you it was originally Riker, Troi, and O'Brien, but I bet you there was like a point where Riker was like, guys, can I just not get possessed in this episode? What about Brent? Brent always wants to get it, possessed. And so they switched it but I really don't see how, like, I would say that like logically speaking, it would be Data that the entities couldn't possess because he's a computer, so they would possess the other three. So that was my one flaw.
Sorry, that was many occasions before this episode that they took over the Enterprise, just an alien entity.
Oh, this is true. And we're gonna have the episode where he gets taken over by the Mask of Musaka and Enkyo and all that stuff. So I mean, like he's very susceptible. Data's firewall needs to be updated because clearly he's running Windows 10.
He's running on Windows XP.
Yeah. It's true.
Support is way over now. One more thing before we.
Do you think that Data contains? I'm sorry, Gary. Do you think that Data contains all of the knowledge from like the past of humans? Like there's like a database in Starfleet that would contain all of YouTube videos and stuff. And do you think he can like download all that?
100%. He's watching Starfleet.
All of you. Like, he has all the cat videos in the world.
Yeah, he does.
Part of his knowledge brain spot.
100%. And also, but in the show, he actually does have all the journal entries of the colonists that were on the planet that he was found on. And you guys remember that episode where he talks creepy, talks like a teenager.
Like, as the son of that woman.
Yeah, it was like super, super creepy. But yeah, Data's an interesting character. I just don't know if I buy that a biological entity can take over a computer in the manner that it does. So that would be my one major thing.
That's where the supernatural angle kind of was interesting when it was introduced, when Worf introduced it. And that's what I didn't like about the show. One of my major complaints is that it just kind of like shoves it aside, and we never get a return to that idea of what if this is just something unexplained, something supernatural. And I know that kind of violates the edict of Star Trek. But
well, maybe not, because I don't recall. But I mean, like the thing about science fiction is that they always attempt to explain the inexplicable through a scientific method. So in this case, an ancient civilization used technology to disembody people from their, disembodied people. Period. It's known that it's technology that does this. Later on, we get the episode where Dr. Crusher continuously has relations with this family ghost. It's coming up soon.
It's way too soon to start talking about that, man. We don't need to go there. Sabrosa, come on.
But like they end up explaining that the ghost is actually a alien, like a life form that uses human energy of some kind. I
Incest.
forget.
Yeah.
Are we talking
Incest.
Sub Rosa now?
What?
Did I say
Are we
that?
talking Sub Rosa?
I don't know.
Or
Sub
Sub
Rosa,
Rosa?
yeah.
Oh, God.
Sub Rosa.
That was a good episode.
And generally like science fiction tries to, like, just as science does, they try to explain anything that might be construed as supernatural or spiritual in this context, which is interesting to me because I'm very, very curious, because I think, like, one thing that I loved about Battlestar Galactica is that, like, it actually introduced the supernatural without destroying its
The mystery.
the mystery behind it.
The mysticism, yeah.
I think based on the trailer for Star Trek Discovery season 2, they might introduce an interesting element like this. We'll see what happens, but
What's that?
Star Trek Discovery season 2.
The Expanse.
The Expanse.
The Expanse, the spinoff? Okay.
And the Expanse actually does it as well, so it's a good show. That show, just, man, when does that come back on, Sean?
The Expanse?
Yeah, when is it
I
coming
have
back?
no idea. It's gonna be a while because I mean it was cancelled after season 3, right? But then Amazon Prime bought it, so they're bringing it back. But then I'm assuming that they have to, like, change the headquarters, and then, you know, maybe they have to change where they're filming. I don't know if they have to, like, do new contracts for the studios, because now it's no longer sci-fi. It might be a longer wait than what we're used to get season 4 up and running. Hopefully they're going to keep, like, all the same team, but hopefully they might just, Amazon is throwing millions and millions at Middle Earth, so hopefully they can throw, like, even 10% of that at the Expanse, and we can get even better props, even better sets, even better CG.
I just want to take a moment after you said all that to point out that we really are in an amazing time as far as television and stuff is concerned, because, like, they're doing crazy shit on television that never awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We're getting, like, a Game of Thrones spin-off, which is going to
we're
only
talking doing about Star Trek.
We're doing, like, they're doing an Avatar: The Last Airbender live action series, which apparently is going to have the same budget as Game of Thrones as well.
What?
Middle Earth. It's just, shit's intense.
Shit is intense. Gary.
And then the Orville is coming in February.
Oh, God.
What?
Yes, that's what I was hoping for, is that Gary would remind us about the Orville, and he did. Yeah.
Because I know how much you love all of them, all of you.
I actually do like the Orville a lot. I love it. It's a fun show.
I like the Orville the same way I like the Flash. I just don't put it in the same kind of pool as television series. It's a fun thing to watch when, you know, you don't want to think about it. Yeah, you don't want to think about it too much. It's fine. And then people praise, like, the best episode of the Orville, but it's just like a knockoff of Black Mirror. So it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. That being said, I love Seth MacFarlane. I think he's a great guy.
I do too. Guys, can we do you think we're ready to rate this episode? Is that happening right now?
We can rate it.
We can. Didn't Gary he had a final statement or something?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Gary.
Just one little thing that I kind of was wondering again between the talk between Picard and Worf when Picard was just suspicious, like, hey, these are not Starfleet officers. Like, if that would be a Starfleet captain even after 200 years, he wouldn't act the same way how Deanna was acting. And Worf actually made a really good point. Like, if you're like out of your body, like, for 200 years and you give up hope and everything, you might end up behaving this way. And I don't know how many of you, I know, Sean, you watched Voyager, and I'm not sure about the Doctor and Sohail, but Equinox, the double-parter, when we find Captain Ransom, he trapped in the Delta Quadrant as well, just as Janeway. Sorry for the spoilers, but
no, it's fine.
But he basically ends up twisting his personality, and he's just, like, murdering innocent creatures, and he's not behaving as a normal Starfleet officer would. So under the circumstances, I assume they could do, not everyone as strong as Captain Janeway was, but obviously maybe the captain of the Essex wouldn't have been. I mean, in 200 years, I kind of understand. But it was a bit interesting how they actually discussed this fact, and how Picard was like, no, they are Starfleet officers. But if you would, he gave up in the episode Inner Light as well. He forgot himself. He got on with his life. He wasn't a Starfleet captain at the end.
That's a very good point. Captain Picard has a certain strength to him, and I suppose all of the captains that we watch, that's why they're the heroes. But, I mean, Captain Edison in Beyond loses himself as well.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that kind of, I don't know,
strength.
inner strength to keep themselves from changing or reverting back to something else, something that is closer to survival. Because Starfleet is not a way to survive. We never shoot first. What kind of friggin' principle is that? That'll get you killed. So yeah, it is very interesting that you say that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Picard really just shut Worf down, like, hey, this is wrong. Which at the end it turned out he was right, but still, the fact that someone can be affected by time and by the principles that he was swearing before,
And I also think that it's like you would recognize another human, right? I mean, I think that no matter what happens to you for 200 years swirling around in the storm, when you do finally have the chance to possess a body as a human, and perhaps as the former captain of the Essex, there's some really key and fundamental protocol that you would follow. But also, why wouldn't they just say, hey, we've been swirling around in this atmosphere for 200 years. Like, we need your help to get us somewhere, or to get something happening. So I think that's where Picard's underlying suspicion comes from, is something's not quite human about these entities or these souls or these ghosts, if you will.
And again, Captain William Decker, not Matt Decker from
Matthew
the Doomsday
Decker,
Machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He gone mad. He gone mad in this episode. And he was a Starfleet captain, wasn't trapped for 200 years in any clouds in any form.
And then every admiral ever.
Yeah.
Every admiral is
trapped in a cloud. Yeah.
Admirals are the enemy. The true enemy of Star
Always.
Trek is always the admirals. It's true.
Oh well,
except Admiral Nagura. Sorry,
Admiral Nagura and Admiral Kirk.
Hope that old man Picard isn't admiral, right? Because then they'll just make him an enemy.
He might be, and he might.
He'll be like the antagonist admiral that'll come annoy Riker.
And hey, Admiral Janeway's cool too. Okay, so whatever. It's true.
I'm gonna lay bets right here.
I'm wearing my Admiral's uniform.
Oh my god!
Star Trek the Motion.
Look at that.
Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Friggin' motion picture pajamas there.
My pajamas.
I'm gonna lay bets down here right now. Picard is not an admiral in the new show.
I agree. He'll be an ambassador.
I agree.
Not
even,
but okay.
I'll go first because as always,
he'll just be an old man with Alzheimer's.
Just an old man, yeah.
And he's got he's got a friend Data that he's got a friend that has to move him from one place to another, and that friend is saving a child.
Picard on Skid Row.
As long as he will be Picard, I'm happy, and I think everyone will be happy. As long as he will be Picard,
he will be. Agreed. Data. All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
Oh god! I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Wait! the ratings. All right, I'll go first as always, so that you guys don't suspect me of subterfuge. My rating for this episode is a 6.5.
How can you really love an episode and then say 6.5?
That's close to a 7. I consider
and
7.
And then terrible episodes, you give them 10s, right? What is this? Come on.
Wow. Now you know how Humbert feels all my life knowing him. It's
oh, God.
Yep.
Poor guy.
Yep.
All right, go for it.
Who?
Whoever wants it.
I'll go. I'm giving this a 5. It's a 5.
I think I have to raise my rating to a set. I have to raise my rating to a 7 just because the doctor gave it.
Look at him!
You are shameless, sir. Shameless. You
it's
really
a show.
But there are rules. There's continuity. There's you cannot. You cannot.
Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery taught me to say "f you" to all that. No rules, no
6.5. You stay at 6.5.
Considering he's the boss, he's the creator and he's the boss, he's allowed to change canon any way he wants.
No.
He's the one that decides what is canon and not, and it doesn't have to be coherent. That's the thing.
All right. So go on, Sean, and then Gary.
Bring some sanity to these proceedings, Sean, please.
I won't. Well, I won't because you won't agree. But I think the episode is a 7.5.
Wow. The action is really good, Doctor. Wow. You have to admit, the action sequences are really good in this episode. Come on.
What, that stupid shuttlecraft?
The episode okay, who was doing better? Who was doing better in 1995 on TV in science fiction?
No one.
Context, Doctor.
This was it.
Context
was it.
Wasn't Highlander running at this time?
This was the peak.
How is science fiction? Of science fiction?
If we can,
Gary.
Oh,
Gary.
8. I would even give
Whoa!
What? Did you say 8?
Yes, I said an 8.
God. Sahel, you're the most sensible person here next to me. I can't believe it. Jesus.
All right. So what's the average?
What did you give? 6.5 or 7 at the end?
I'm going to stick with 6.5 because the doctor objects. So we'll say it's 6.5. And then the doctor gave it a 5.
We had a 7.5 and we had an 8.
And then an 8.
It's a 5.
But you know what's cool? Look how close everyone is. We're all like within like
8 and 5 isn't exactly close.
No.
Yeah, but we're within like. But if you like start with Humbert and go to Gary, like it's all kind of like in a spectrum. I kind of think that's kind of cool. There's like a spectral thing going on.
Well, I always overrate every episode.
No, you don't.
Everyone,
you can't, Gary, you can't say that. You're not allowed to say you overrate it because then it shows that you really think it's less than it is. So you don't overrate. You give it the rating that it deserves.
You overrate everything.
Okay. No, but I do notice I gave more credit to every episode than some of you guys. I mean,
that's true.
And I think that was one of the once my Starbase 1 commission begins, I'm gonna know which is the one episode that actually I really gave a low point, but all of our points gave us a total of 6.75 for this episode.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
All right. I'll abide by that.
Nice. So what's the average, Gary? I thought you were doing the math.
He said it.
He just said it.
He just said it.
Wait, what is it?
It's a 6.75.
Oh wow!
So almost.
If you don't listen to the average, to the final score, then you shouldn't be eligible to vote.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
I think this voting was biased, or I don't know, rigged.
But before we close out, I just want to make an announcement. Sean has released a video, so go check it out. It's just the news updates for Star Trek in general. So there's a little bit of news about Star Trek Discovery, which actually, Sean, even though I read the article from the official Star Trek website, your video made me understand it way better and appreciate what's coming with the Star Trek shorts, which are mini series to themselves. Did you know about this, Doctor? There's like these short 15-minute Star Trek episodes that are coming out.
Yeah,
short treks.
He's gonna love it. Saru, Tilly, Mud. He's gonna love it.
Oh, God. They're 10 minutes, right?
You're totally right.
They're like 10 to 20 minutes.
Oh, 20 minutes?
10 to 20. So on average, 15 minutes.
Because my objection was that they were just so short. I mean, what can you possibly do in 10 minutes? But 20 minutes, you may be able to get away with something of substance.
Yeah.
They're like 10 to 20, so 15 on average, I would think. But then I don't know if they're going to like stick to that format, if they're going to do sequels to some of these episodes, if they're going to do a season 2, who knows.
But they're doing one with a whole new character, correct?
Yeah.
So that character will be introduced properly in season 2 of Discovery?
Maybe.
We don't know.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know. Interesting.
These may never like connect with the series at large.
It's possible. Okay, so if they will, so the whole Noose character is essentially he's a guy that wakes up on an abandoned ship. He's alone on a ship and he wakes up, right? So it can't be the USS Discovery, though I'm pretty convinced they're going to be reusing sets, just, you know, dressing them up differently. So either it's going to be him abandoned on a ship and somehow they tie that into like the second season where like they find him and then they bring him onto the crew, which could be interesting. Or they're just going to like, it'll be a standalone story where he was alone on a ship and then he never kind of connects with the rest of Discovery.
Is that the Michael Chabon one?
Yes.
But I assume
Michael,
just a single.
Michael Chabon, the writer, the author. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same guy.
Really?
Yep.
What were you saying, Gary?
That's interesting.
No, I was just saying that they might, maybe they wouldn't just create a new character for a short story if it wouldn't serve the purpose of Discovery. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see that guy at some point in season 2. This is just like a pre-story. I don't think they would waste an episode just on someone who we didn't know before.
But that's the point. The point isn't to like, this does complement Discovery in the sense that it adds to it, but the point of Short Treks isn't to add to Discovery, it's to add to the Star Trek TV universe, what they're calling it. The point is just to bring more Star Trek, and I think this enables them to have some freedom, give backstories to characters that they can't waste that time in an episode, and just bring you new ideas and concepts, which is essentially what Star Trek should be in the first place, but now they're doing it as a sideshow.
By the way, I think, and we're probably getting to the limit of this episode of Starfleet Boy here, but I just want to say that I think that it's stupid that they would think that like they can waste the time, because like there is no time restriction on streaming. You can make an episode unless they're planning.
Very true.
It's like, yeah, so.
And they could have used up all of the episode of Saru being stupid on a planet to show his backstory instead. That would have worked.
Right. That would have worked as well. But say la vie. Either way, it's fun. It's a good little diversion between now and the fall. I mean, I guess here Discovery won't be out till like the spring or something like that, right?
Yeah, January is when it's coming back. So like we'll have one of these a month until Discovery comes back. And I think that'll be the plan, because then once Discovery's off the air, they'll probably be releasing Old Man Picard. And then we'll probably dive back into Short Treks, and then they'll be like never-ending Star Trek, and that's probably their goal. They want people to be on all access all year instead of canceling their subscriptions once Star Trek is over.
Yeah, and I have to say that I actually have been paying for my CBS All Access, and at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to watch anything between now and then, but offering a few cool things. Like I'm really excited about the Murphy Brown return, so I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm actually finding things to watch on CBS All Access, so I pay for it year round. Anyways,
I have a legitimate question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Don't apologize.
Are you forcing yourself to watch things on CBS All Access because you're paying for CBS All Access, or are these things that you would have watched? Like, would you have watched them if you weren't paying for CBS All Access? Would you have gone out of your way to watch these things? Or is it just because, like...
That's a really good question. And actually, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, so traditionally, way back in the day, you had to get home on time to watch your favorite show, whatever it was. This is like way back up until like 2004. Then DVRs came out, and you didn't have to wait anymore. You just record all your favorite shows, and then you binge watch them later on. So that was wonderful. But I have to say that the majority of where my money goes for entertainment nowadays is in streaming services. Like as a family, we pay for HBO, but not cable HBO. We pay for HBO on streaming. We pay for Netflix. We pay for Amazon Prime, and it comes with the streaming. Eventually, I know they're going to set that. And now Apple's offering TV also. So I think that like TV in its traditional form is completely dying. Like it's not, people are just going to pay for these services and watch their favorite shows. either a la carte or whenever they're available on those services. So I'm fully on board with the streaming life, and that's all I do.
I disagree, but okay. That's a conversation for another day.
It's true.
All right.
Did that answer your question, Sean?
No.
Oh.
You would have
Can you
watched
repeat-
Murphy Brown
can you-
anyways. I can attest to that. I remember
Okay.
Murphy Brown, and he was
Okay.
obsessed with Candice Bergen.
I am was is
and,
past tense. I am obsessed with Candice Bergen.
So yeah, he would have. I don't know if he would have paid money, but I know that.
But since I'm paying the money for Star Trek, I'm getting all these extra shows. Which is
I
great.
am confused though why you would waste time watching things on CBS All Access when you have HBO and you could be watching things like American Crime Story.
Yeah, that's a great thing. That's a really good question. I didn't even know about American Crime Story, so you'll have to tell me about it offline. But
Okay.
but that's probably the reason why I'm not watching American Crime Story.
Okay.
I will say,
Now that you know,
I will say that I did watch the series American Gods to see what the hubbub was about, because a lot of people praise that series, and I also wanted to see what kind of show Brian Fuller spits out. And though I was intrigued by it, and though I watched the whole series, now it's like, now that like we're in this like limbo waiting for season 3 or whatever it is, I completely stopped caring about the show. Like, it's like one of those shows that, like, I think that there's a momentum that's lost in this streaming world that used to be really strong on regular TV, whereas like you knew when the next season was coming out, you knew that it, you know what I mean, like, and so I feel like that is a valid point. All right, I'm gonna cut it short because like we're at almost at 90 minutes here on Starfleet Boys episode today. But like, guys, this was awesome. It was like a summit. I wish you long life and prosperity. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.